Hello, Mr. Carlson. My name is Carlos, and I consider myself as one of the very few independent political commentators in Catalonia. First of all, I would like you to know that I've been a follower and a fan for some years now. I also want you to know that you and some other independent journalists, podcasters, and commentators such as Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, Crystal and Sagar from Breaking Points, the Weinstein Brothers, the British guys at Trigonometry, Douglas Murray, Tim Pool, Jimmy Dore, Jordan Peterson, all of them, all of you, have inspired me, and without you I would never have found the strength and courage to change careers and start this channel and my current enterprise. I am recording this because seeing you these days in Madrid has worried me a lot. I know you are a very well-informed man, and I have no doubt that you have the best reasons and the best intentions. That's why you'll have to forgive me for what I'm about to tell you, which is that you've been tricked. I know how that sounds like, but if you have like 10 minutes, I'd like to explain that to you with the utmost respect. So, full disclosure, I am Catalan and also pro-independence. I love my country, Catalonia, or Catalonia, as some call it in English. Of course I love my country, but the country that I admire the most is the United States of America. I like to think of myself as a liberal conservative. I stand somewhere in the middle if such thing exists. Right. Look, amongst all the right wings of the civilized world, the Spanish right wing is a savage one. They are the direct heirs to the dictatorship of Francisco Franco, the only European dictator who died peacefully in his bed. Actually, he did leave an appointed official heir, the former King of Spain, the father of the current king, a man who publicly swore to lead the country according to the principles of the fascist regime. Spain went from being a dictatorship to being a democracy overnight, meaning that the only thing they changed were the posters on the walls, the signs in the doors, and the name of the institutions. The country was left in the hands of the same people who only had to change uniforms and some, let's say, ways of expression, but not much more. They simply went on running the country disguised as left-wing or right-wing politicians. Traditionally, there have been two major parties, conservatives and the so-called socialists. Not really, more of a Spanish version of the Democrats, with some nationalist parties from the various countries that Spain is made of. And in recent years, the populist left and the populist right have joined the political spectrum. I'm sure you've met the most distinguished people of this populist right, the VOX party. Very well-educated people who have traveled the world and come from some of the best families of the elites of Madrid. It's impossible for me to know exactly what they have or haven't told you about politics in Spain, but I'm guessing, just guessing, that you think you're dealing with a case somewhat similar to what you have just observed very recently in places like Poland or Hungary. A people's resistance in a country subject to globalist elites represented by the European Union, an entity governed by bureaucrats who have not been elected by anyone and that want to truncate the national sovereignty and the will of the different European peoples, now also the Spaniards. I'm also guessing that they have explained to you that the socialist government has signed an agreement, an amnesty, for the exiled leaders of the evil independence movement to suppress democracy and the separation of powers in the country, in full collusion with the European Union. Now, I will probably surprise you. If this is what you've been told, they are right. It is true. Most of the Catalan independence supporters know this and are against it. This is not the democratic and civilized way to carry out a political project. But this is not the entire truth. Here's the rest of it. This is a political game, and the amnesty is the ball of the game. Everybody plays with the amnesty. Sometimes they bounce it, sometimes they pass the ball to each other, sometimes they throw the ball at someone's face. The amnesty, the ball, is a toy, a tool to manipulate the public opinion. To make it crystal clear, if your friends at Vox, instead of the socialists, could make a similar deal with the Catalan leaders, now they would be selling devolution and reparation, a gathering of all peoples of Spain, and so on and so forth. Since they won't, they simulate this so-called popular uprising that you have been invited to. But they are using you to validate and legitimate them with your presence. As a well-informed person, you must be aware that in 2017, we Catalans held an independence referendum that was intended to be peaceful, done properly, with international observers from the United Nations, and the greatest possible number of guarantees and full transparency, given that we did not have permission from the Spanish government. You may expect that in such scenario, with people of all sorts, Catalan citizens going with all their family, also with their children and elders, to vote, just to vote, without any altercation or coercion, any politician responsible for the well-being of their citizens would simply act in a responsible manner, being reasonable. They could have simply done nothing, let us vote, and then, afterwards, give no importance or validity to the referendum, showing the world that Spain is an advanced democracy and has nothing to be afraid of. But instead, you will recall that the Spanish government chose to send us 6,000 riot policemen who attacked innocent, unarmed people, women, children, grandpas, grandmas, savagely, leaving 1,000 injured just for wanting to vote. This was no BLM, Antifa, crazy woke rioters. These were families, Mr. Carlson, families. Without provocation, as the hours passed on, some tried to build something similar to a passive resistance, Gandhi style. That was the only actual defense from those innocent citizens that thought it was right to put an envelope with their vote in a ballot box, as anyone would expect. The images of the state violence against its defenseless population went viral around the world. I'm sure you will remember them as an unheard event in a modern Western democracy. These gentlemen that have invited you today, they are the leaders of the most aggressive political faction regarding Catalonia and the rights of Catalans to decide their future peacefully and democratically as a people with 1,000 years of history. We Catalans have tried everything with Spain. Even now we have a whole sector of Catalan politicians who still believe there is a possible fit within Spain. But most of our people are afraid of the Spanish abuse and repression, and even of a military uprising, a coup that would take us back 90 years. So in 2017, 3 million Catalans voted out of a 5 million census, so a bigger percentage than the Brexit referendum, and the choice for independence won by a whopping 92% of the vote. Even so, instead of declaring independence, the Catalan government continued to reach out to Madrid, trying once again for an understanding. And in return, Madrid gave us the suppression of our government and the first political prisoners in Western Europe since the Second World War, and the first democratic president in exile since then. Our president, Carles Puigdemont, is still in exile. That's a good interview that you're missing out. Bear in mind that the history of our presidents is a history of detention, persecution, assassination, and exile. Also, bear in mind that some leaders of VOX, this party that has welcomed you, were the prosecutors of this trial of the Catalan leaders who called the referendum and demanded the most ridiculous prison terms for holding a democratic vote of all citizens of Catalonia, for asking them for their opinion. Did we Catalans do any uprising, a revolution after all this? Nope. As it turns out, total surrender. That's who we are. But your new best friends insist that we are evil people. Yeah, sure. Look, I started writing the script for this video immediately after finding out that you were in Madrid with Mr. Abascal. I don't have a team of screenwriters or the means to be able to fabricate a good story to trick you. I made this script in a hurry with the intention and hope of achieving a very simple goal, to make you look at your new friends with some healthy skepticism and distance. I can only dream that by some miracle, someone with your projection would spend a little of your time doing some research on the only separatist movement, along with the Scottish, of great importance in Europe, and our reasons or the justice of our demands, because I think I know what your Spanish friends are telling you. Since this seems unlikely, I can only appeal to what you and the rest of the independent new American media promote and teach viewers every day. To look at the facts and data and then think logically and critically. Look, Mr. Carlson, Mr. Abascal is well known in Spain for never having worked in a real job, ever. He is simply a recycled parasite of the old Spanish politics, someone who saw an opportunity and took it. Many of the other ones are people that were rejected from the Conservative Popular Party with good reason. Very aggressive, extremist people who dream of absolute and limitless power. These are not your civilized right-wingers. I'm asking you to do a couple of quick inquiries outside the circles of these people who are using you to make profit of your fame and your good name. You will quickly realize that what you thought to be a healthy populist right, like the ones in other European countries, has nothing to do with what these people actually are. I know that you admire nations and peoples that hold their own identity and culture and defend them. We Catalans have been subject to Castile, Spain proper, for centuries now, and have survived several attempts at genocide and suppression of our language and culture. What you may think the European Union and the Spanish Socialist Party are doing is actually what Spain has been trying to do with Catalonia for centuries, to end our country, fade it into oblivion. They have explained everything to you the other way around, and I get it. In the current political environment in Europe, it is very easy to buy such a false story, because it sounds so legit and so credible. Fascists don't have horns in their heads, or anything like that. Sometimes they are very nice people, civilized, sophisticated. You are in the company of actual fascists here. This is Europe's history, Mr. Carlson. Please be aware of that. I've tried to keep this video as short as possible. I've left many things out of it, things that could give some clarity over the facts and the political situation between Spain and Catalonia. I really appreciate your interest, and I am at your disposal for anything. In fact, if you ever visit Barcelona or Catalonia, I would love to say hello. Again, thank you, Mr. Carlson.